Hello and welcome. Hope that you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to discuss a little bit about URL parsing with Node.js to better understand how we can serve files through our file server using specific URLs rather than just the root directory. So let's take a look at how that works. So in our previous video, we saw that we could set up our server so that it would serve us an HTML page, in this case test.html, using a request to the actual root directory of the server. What I want to talk about now is situations where we might want to try to access a different page. So say we want to put like a slash and then put a different page in. How could we serve that specific page? Well, let me demonstrate to you a few concepts related to this. So first off, let's discuss a little bit about just parsing URLs in general. So I'm just going to import in a new library here, which is going to be called URL. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put together a sample URL. So suppose that we have the following URL provided to us. We have localhost 5000 / default.html, and then maybe !name equals Scott. So with this URL, basically what's happening is they're accessing localhost at port 5000. They're trying to load the default.html page, and they're providing a parameter, name equals Scott, inside of that page URL as well. Let's take a look at how we might be able to pick apart this URL using the url.parse method. What we do is we say var, let's just call it result equals url.parse addr. Oh, and then we have to provide this true here. So what this true is doing is that it is specifying whether the slash denotes the host. So basically it's telling it information about the actual formatting of this particular URL. So what it means by slash denotes host is that if there's like the first slash here, it's denoting that everything before that is indicating the host. And I'll show you that here actually. So if I go ahead and console.log out the value of result.host, what you'll find is that this is actually going to be related to this, this parse as true. It's going to give us the first part of this URL. So let me demonstrate exactly what that will look like. So we have our code here. Let's go ahead and run it. And you can see here we got localhost :5000. So you can see everything in between the two slashes here is considered to be the host. So that's what that true is indicating, that this slash indicates the end of the host and the beginning of the actual URL path. So let's take a look at a few other things that we can pick out of this. We could do console.log, we could do result.search, we could do console.log result.pathname. Let's see what each of these are. So we'll just go ahead and run this again. And what you could see is generally, so search is giving us the parameter at the end here, and then path name is giving us this this default.html portion. So you can see that default.html here, and then the name equals Scott is the last part there, the search. So this tells you a little bit more information about how we can parse apart these URLs. Now this is a useful thing to be able to do, and the reason being is that if I want to serve a particular page, I need to be able to get this piece right here. And now we know that this piece is stored in the path name of the result. So what I could do is I can parse it, and then I can grab that path name, and then I can use that path name to determine what file I should actually be loading. So let's take a look at how we would do that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just delete these. We'll keep these three requires since we need those to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say http.createServer. Of course, we're going to make that as a function with a request and a response. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a, I'll just call this one, we'll call it in URL. Let's do that. So we'll do that as url.parse. And then in order to get the current URL that the user put in, we can get the request.url. So basically, this request holds a whole lot of information about the actual request that's being sent into our server. And we're going to talk a lot about that because we're going to need it for a few different particular usage and use cases. So basically what's going to happen here is to get the URL, we do request.url. That captures the URL of the request itself. And then what I can do is I can say, well, the file that I want to load is going to be found at the in URL dot path name, right? Because that's the portion of the URL that actually represents the file that we're loading. Now we're gonna have to do something slightly different here. What we have to do is we actually have to put a dot in front of it. The reason that we put a dot in front of it is because we need to understand which particular area the file is going to be located in. If you're familiar with Linux, you might know a little bit about like /. So // indicates that we're in the current directory. So this directory here with our HTML and JavaScript files. And then the slash indicates that we're denoting like an actual file. And the file that we're going to denote in this case would be test.html. So the proper way to format it would be to have a .test.html. It indicates in the current directory, we want this file. That's what that dot is doing. So now from here, what we could do is we could say this. We could say fs.readFile. And then we're going to put in file name. And then, of course, like before, we have a function with an error and data. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if an error occurs, so if there's any sort of error that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the following. I'm going to write in a 404, and then we'll do content type. We'll do it as text/HTML. And we'll do a return. And we'll say return res.end 404 not found. So the case that this is covering is the case where no file is actually found from the one that they're trying to access. So when they put in something into the path name, they might put in something that is invalid. If they do that, we're going to return a 404 not found to say that that file is, of course, not found, so it's not a valid path. On the other case, where they return something that is true and valid, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write onto the header a 200 status code. We're going to give it the content type as text/HTML, like usual. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in the data from the file, right? And then we're going to return res.end. You should recognize this is the same as what we did when we initially read the file, so when things were actually working correctly. So all we've really done here is we've added in a part to parse the URL to figure out which file we need to load, and then a part to actually serve a 404 if the file is not found. So with that, we can just add on a .listen. And again, I'll listen on port 5000. And now we can run this and give it a try. So let's go ahead and load this up. I'm going to jump over to our web page here. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually load in a particular URL. So in this case, the particular URL that we're going to load in is going to be 5000, and it's going to be / and I'm going to put in test.html. And as you can see, that does load the test.html page. And just to show you that it will error if it gets something invalid, if I put in something like A, I get a 404 not found. So this should give you a good idea of how we actually load particular pages, right? So now we can actually go to specific paths and we can load in those pages by default. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. We now have some idea of how to use Node as a file server. In the next few videos, we're going to dive into a few other functionalities that we have with Node to help us to be able to enhance the functionality of our applications. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.